Boom.
Ah, got it. We got it. Okay.
You hear it now?
Always were, and I got old lady.
Okay,
I'm done, I'll take it back.
I'll start over. Are you ready?
Let's just get a confirmation.
Mark, can you hear us?
Can you
All
hear
right.
me now? Better, can we hear him?
Anybody else on? No.
CB7 has the mute sign on.
Oh, it's back on.
Mark is on,
No, the CB7 office is also.
only
I
Mark,
couldn't find it online. I was looking
only Mark is on the attendee so far. Well, have we opened this up?
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I know you were. I know, but I don't know.
Jasmine. Jesse's,
In the other
doing
room.
it from the other room.
Yeah, thank you. I hope you feel better. Me too. Got 2 Instagram shoots tomorrow with
Not
clients.
really what we want there.
No.
You tapping it.
Do we have anybody from the office here?
Yes, Jesse's in the other room.
Jesse,
Why is it with that?
okay.
Oh, look at you. It's like you're like Pet
Can
Savior.
you, can you?
He's like John King on CNN.
Oh,
Something fell.
What's the matter?
Yeah.
Something fell.
Oh, probably my medicine cabinet. Yeah.
But
I think audio is fine, we're off mute.
yeah, you can't be fine. No, then.
Mark, can you hear us? Mark?
Mark,
I'm texting him too, he's like.
Jesse,
Mark,
see the mute sign on the middle?
That's.
But that's the other.
Mine's.
That's yours. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Mark.
This
says
is
something.
supposed to
Texting with Mark, but he didn't,
I don't know why that looks like that.
Yeah, actually.
That
That's
looked
how
really
it
good.
looked all last night too.
You know what, can someone log into the,
It's terrible. Something wrong with these owls. I could not hear anybody last night.
Didn't hear you.
when you log into the,
And I said,
When people came up and sat here, they were close to the owl. Really?
there were.
yeah, I watched some of the recording.
Terrible. The only people who came across the island was there, Colleen. Perfect. Last
Oh,
year.
because that was here.
And now they're
External,
home.
in the
Yes.
room.
all right, I think, we got more people here. Just,
Oh, great.
okay, maybe one of them.
Look, I don't know why I have to be front and center. It's really don't.
It rotates.
It picks you up on the owl.
Hello. I'm ready for my close-up.
Yeah.
Let's see, Benjamin, can you hear us?
Yeah, yes, I can.
Very good, great.
My apologies that I'm not there in person, everybody.
There's our answer.
All right, so now let's begin the June 12th Business Consumer / Transportation Joint Committee meeting.
Okay,
The first thing we want to do is have an adoption of the agenda. Before we adopt the agenda, we're going to switch the order of the agenda into the BCI / transportation issues first.
Good.
At the
Thank you.
request of
Yeah, of course.
somebody.
Yeah.
I don't recall it, oh, no, that doesn't.
I don't matter.
So good. So do we, just by verbal, we adopt the agenda that,
Yeah.
great. So the first, is going to be 668 Amsterdam Avenue. Do we have anybody from 668 Amsterdam Avenue, online?
We have a member of the public.
I know that, but the member of the public will speak after.
I don't
the-
see anyone.
Got it, I got it. Not my first meeting.
Not your first rodeo.
That's right. So we're looking for someone from Talia's.
Surprised Jeremy's not here. Jeremy.
Joshua, we're doing the dining out first, right?
We are.
So we don't require the applicants to be here.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay.
So,
So why don't we just,
Yeah.
it's gonna be, that's gonna be a learning process, that when
Okay, so
conversations about people's applications and their problems, people aren't gonna be here to be able to respond to it.
correct. So since I was not here last month when we did this, someone could just take the lead on that part of it. So
Yeah, I think what we did last time was we as a board or as a committee, joint
Can we have
committee.
one conversation?
Yeah, I good.
Our-
Yeah, can't hear it.
So last time when we did, since the applicant are not technically required to be here, we as a joint committee discuss the application, and if there is a member of the public after
Which there
our
is, yeah.
discussion, they're able to speak, and we just go like that. And what we did last time, if the applicant was not here and we had requests or needed clarity, we would send them an email asking for that clarity by a certain date, so we could submit our resolution in time. So we basically, and Mark is on, I see.
Yeah.
We said that basically, you know, it was approval subject to the applicant submitting clarification by a certain date.
Okay, so I suppose.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and that may be necessary tonight too.
Yes.
It'd be very helpful if we had a copy of the application in front of us, because I can't find it online now. Oh.
Well, I can put my screen up if you want to see it.
That'd be amazing.
Great, that'd be great. Can we send the?
Can you tell me which one this is?
Talia.
Talia, 668.
Amsterdam.
668 Amsterdam. Thank you. Can you hear well, Mark?
I can now, thank you.
Great.
So I'm gonna go up to the top. Okay, so I guess probably the place so this is obviously the forum.
Yep.
And right here is the one thing that I want to talk about a little bit later.
Oh, yes.
And there's the diagram. Maybe that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Yes.
Obviously done by an architect.
Architect under
By a pharmacist.
Okay, so,
It hurts to laugh, geez, Corey.
sorry. I guess let's open up for discussion.
Looks good to me. I don't have any objections. You know, it's an 8-foot clearance. It has enough room around the tables for the cafe.
They only have
It's 30 feet, which is legitimate.
But did you see the hours listed?
Yeah, so the hour, so could I jump in for a couple things? So I'm assuming that the 3 o'clock is the indoor hours and not the outdoor hours, but we should confirm that.
It's reasonable to say that there isn't a restaurant in this neighborhood that would be asking for a 3 a.m. outdoor license on a Sunday night.
Yeah, but I don't want to approve. I wouldn't want
Saturday
to approve.
nights.
Yeah. It's reasonable,
way.
but yeah, okay. This is Amsterdam Avenue, so the clearance needs to be 10 feet, but as the pictures late,
8 feet. 8 feet.
right here on the application, they check regional corridor, Amsterdam Avenue is a 10-foot clear path. That's what that says right there.
Oh.
And they have it. So it's not, you know, the 8 feet this is actually a little bit more catty corner than their diagram is showing. And this one is a little more catty corner than the diagram is showing. So they actually have, and I'm not offended by it being a little bit oblong, because if you go down here to the, you see how this tree pit is actually a little bit catty cornered to the table. And then, so
And
it
Mark,
may
just-
be, yeah.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, just so that I know that it come up, that I clarified that the way they are measuring distance, which you presumably know, is a direct line from the obstruction to the cafe. It's not a radius. So I think in this case, if it is kind of catty cornered, it's hard to tell from their drawing, it would be okay.
Yeah, so this one
definitely-
is, this one definitely is. This one down here, they don't show it to you, and it's measured from the obstruction, which is the tree pit, not the tree itself. So it is a little tight, but I'm not offended by it unless somebody else has a concern about it. I think that's in substantial compliance is how I would phrase that. My concerns are, one, the 3 a.m. I just want to make sure that that's not what they think they're going to do outdoors. And the other is there needs to be a service aisle. And on this diagram, it doesn't look like there is one, although I think there probably is room enough because they need a 10-foot clearance, not 11. So if they pull this barricade out one more foot, they would, and then push these tables closer to the facade a little bit, I think they get it.
Yeah,
So
Mark,
I want to,
it looks like there is clearance over there from your photograph. Go back to the photograph from the maps, Google Maps.
Yeah, but
Thing
these
is, the
are,
thing-
yeah, but
as
these
far
are,
as-
these are
Okay,
four
so-
tops and they're showing six tops up here. They're showing different tables here than they are in the picture.
Right.
Unless this is wrong, unless this is supposed to be the four tops that exist. But if this is what a four top looks like, then a six top would
yeah.
presumably be a little wider.
I think we need to go by what they have in their diagram,
Right.
not what they have, which is presumably
I've seen fixed
under the.
out there. for
Yeah, I
sure.
don't know what's, so yeah,
Yeah.
what's in the photo, who knows? And the other thing with it is, I guess, for the service aisle, because they do have that extra foot, the service aisle could be kind of the outside or the inside, presumably the side, closer to the side, closer to the curb or the side, closer
Yeah.
to the sod,
Mhm.
which you can't tell.
It's not a scale drawing, it's not that they're required to do that, but
It's not even a good drawing.
sorry to say. It's not.
So
This
can I
is
show
why
you
it's
my,
so-
I sent around some comments today. I don't know if anybody had a chance to see them. Do you want to see them now?
Sure,
Yes.
please.
Okay, so let me go to them, and this is this one. Okay. So what I tried to do was to emulate what the resolution and the form would require. So these are the on the form it says the boxes are physical footprint and dimensions, pedestrian flow, and conflicts with existing curb usage, and then you have to have a recommendation. So on the first one, I thought that they should clarify the hours of operation. And that the diagram does not show a service aisle, although there may be sufficient space. So those would be the comments. Pedestrian flow, the clearance from the tree pit is 8 feet. It does not impede industrial flow, so I think it should be acceptable. That's just one person's opinion. And the same for the tree at the north end. And then in terms of existing curb usage, I don't see any conflicts at all there. So I would recommend that we would recommend approval with conditions, rather approval straight up if they demonstrate the service aisle and confirm the 3 a.m. and approve with conditions if they don't. And so that's how I would fill in that form.
I think that's
Barbara?
spot on.
A clarification on something, Mark. According to the, it's 12 feet on global corridors, 10 feet on regional corridors, 8 feet on all other street types.
Yeah, so there's 4 different corridors under the new program. So there's something that was separate called the pedestrian mobility plan that came out of like the pandemic. And they've applied that to the regs. So depending on
Exactly.
where you're located, you fall into one of those corridors. Amsterdam Avenue along that part, I believe, is a regional corridor that requires 10 feet.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The
and
weird
I
thing
have-
is that Amsterdam is regional corridor and Columbus is considered a neighborhood corridor. So Columbus requires 8 feet, but Amsterdam requires 10 feet. And to my thinking, they're the same, but we go with what they gave us. So
It's a very, yes, and in some areas because of changing pedestrian traffic patterns due to the pandemic and office space, or office workers or lack thereof, it's confused. So we used to have, remember, it used to be 8 feet or 50% clearance, whichever is greater.
Right.
That's not the case. Now it's core.
I have one other thing. Are we to assume that they have a perimeter around the tables because they don't currently, and that is now one of the regs?
It's the service
It always
aisle.
was, by the way, and that Mark pointed that.
Yeah,
in his notes.
service aisle.
Well, they have a line around, but that, are we to assume that they're gonna have some kind of a barrier there?
I don't think we should assume that. I think we should
No, I
require
think
that.
put that in with the, with.
So let's
with
go
the
back to
criteria.
the application. And I think it says, it checks here that the perimeter demarcation will be in conformance with the regs. So I don't think we have to call that out because it says it right here on page 4.
Okay, great.
It does say that, yeah.
Just a comment, because I feel like especially when the applicant isn't here, it gets a bit more confusing, but if we're looking at these, like presumably after we go through and DOT reviews it, all the things that aren't conforming with the actual law will, be rejected by DOT. They'll be required to fix them.
From the agency that brought us the regional neighborhood and.
Well, I'm just, but point being, so we could spend a lot of time going here and saying, well, this is out of, this isn't right, this is out of whack, this is out of whack. I don't know how helpful it is for us to spend our time commenting on all of these things. If it's just gonna go to the agency, and the agency is gonna either approve it or disapprove it. Or based on those same factors, whereas what we may be talking about more is what Mark was pointed out, the hours of operation.
Right.
If there's planters or there's some other type of factor that may be in compliance that we think should be changed. Because those are the things that,
Hopefully the agency
That-
catches these
that-
things.
yeah.
They're doing thousands of these. We're just doing a few.
Right.
yeah.
And the fact that we're getting this application, I assume no one from DOT has seen this because that 3 AM should be flagged immediately. It's not even.
So that's what I mean. So why,
I'm saying there's nothing wrong with their commenting.
no, I'm saying it's totally fine, but just as a practice, if every single one of these applications are going to be a plan review or try to make a determination of what's in compliance and what's not, to me, that seems a little bit silly and not really.
I don't think we're gonna be seeing a lot of these.
No, I think we're gonna see, I think we're gonna see a lot. And if the applicant's not here,
Yeah.
we have to start making, presumptions about this because, I could see someone saying, well, I think the service aisle should be close, to the facade. Someone else says, well, I think it should be close.
I think that's what we're doing though, and here's the other thing, what we've got is this crappy diagram that he sent us.
Well, but we got what they gave us,
The
because that
ruler.
was accepted by.
DOT,
Yeah, so we can't, that's beyond our,
I mean.
there's not a
I
requirement
gotta
for that.
say that this level of review makes sense to me. I agree with you that where the service aisle goes is beyond my ken. But I think that when we see a diagram that doesn't include one, it's on us to call it out. And remember that, well, in my work board, we have 72 of these applications coming and more than that to come after that. I have no confidence that DOT has the staff to do the review that we're talking about right now. So, yeah, maybe eventually, but not now. Anyway, so I,
Yeah,
Can
Go
you
ahead.
scroll back up to those hours, please?
yeah, the hours are disturbing, the 3 AM.
that can be easily clarified. And the office did that last time and they were great at it. They called the guy and he immediately
Yeah.
submitted a revised or confirmation.
Right,
It's funny, this happens to be a kosher operation, so I'm surprised that they're open on Friday evening. But I think that's the reason on Saturday they begin at 9.
Right.
Oh,
to
that's
go past
interesting.
sunset.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably.
That makes sense.
But they can't go to 3.
Part ownership in this stuff.
Karen?
Oh, yeah,
No.
that's what he told me. He
No.
told me that's the tail, that's what I'm saying. Telio is the one that he has.
Telio.
That's the one that I was saying,
Columbus.
that's why I
Yeah,
got.
this is
confused too.
completely separate.
It's Telio and it's over at,
Should be good enough to eat, nighttime, good
Yeah,
enough.
it's a dual play.
Okay, so anyway, so the modification is fixing the hours of operation.
Yeah. I'm feeling better.
Mark, I was good with what you had. I think.
Wow.
I think I'm good with that too, Mark.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am too, I'm good with it.
Me too.
So we do have one member from the public who would like to speak, so please, if you can tell us your name and please come on up.
Come up and talk to the owl.
Sure, thank you. My name is Jeff Sussman. Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course.
I actually live at 200 West 93rd Street, which is the Talia's building. Their address is on Amsterdam. So it's 668 Amsterdam. Just FYI, they are a kosher restaurant. On Friday nights, they're open because people can pay in advance. And on Saturday nights, yeah, this is not why I'm here, but Saturday nights, they are open very late. I've seen them open at 3 AM with tables outside. So that is happening in the summer. Yeah, it's very late night.
Thanks.
The reason I am here is because for the last maybe close to 10 years, I've been fighting with Talia's about noise. I live on the 3rd floor of 200 West 93rd Street. On the 2nd floor, there's a low roof. All of Talia's air recirculation equipment and air conditioning is located on that roof, and it makes noise. Talia's recently, as you probably know, they converted the restaurant where they made a section of it like a takeout counter called Shawarma Shabazi. It's basically the same restaurant. When they did that, they added a huge new piece of equipment for their new oven for that shawarma takeout place. What I'm asking you as the committee and as members of the community board, I'm kind of pleading with you to ask you, is there anything we can do with a restaurant owner who is just a horrible neighbor, essentially? And I'll tell you why. I'll make it quick. It won't take, 2 minutes maximum.
Please.
As I said, I've been calling DEP to come and measure the noise. They've been fined from me. I know a few other people in my building have complained, but usually they just end up moving. It's an old building. People usually get fed up and they leave. They've been fined about 2 to 3 times that I know of, possibly more. When they're fined, what he does is sort of a Band-Aid. Imagine like there's a washing machine outside your window and it's making noise, and you throw a blanket over it, and that's your solution. So technically, when DEP comes to is that DEP? Yeah. DEP comes to measure again, they'll stand near my window and they'll say, "Sorry, he just made it." And I'll say, "Well, what if you put your hand over here?" And they'll say, "Well, then I would have to fine them, but the law's the law, and it's whatever it is, 6 feet or 8 feet from the window, so we can." But this guy's attitude, Ephraim Nagar attitude, is so obstinate and difficult that again, the last time he was fined from my complaint was about 6 months ago. But in order for that fine to happen, there were 2 visits where he actually refused, and I don't know if it's him or his workers, I wasn't at his restaurant, he refused to take measurements. So DEP comes back to me and says, "Okay, we can't do anything because he's refusing to allow us." In other words, he won't shut down the equipment so they can measure and turn it back on.
Familiar.
Yeah.
I think we've had a problem with this place when they've applied for an SLA permit or something, and we heard from neighbors. Have you testified before the board?
One other time.
Yeah, this is very familiar.
I think it was.
It's not an unfamiliar problem for us.
No,
We
it's
have
not.
other people who come and we have been able to
Rather-
resolve them. And I would suggest that we hold up this application or trigger a public hearing unless they come to
The
terms.
city has a program called MEND, which is exactly created for this to help basically mediate conflicts between businesses and residents. We could send you the information, but it may be worth looking into because they help, try to speak with the business owner when, those conversations
Yeah.
are voluntary, maybe cheaper.
Yeah, that's SBS.
Yeah, through SPS.
Sorry,
Are you in a co-op or are you in a multifamily, in a rental?
it's a rental.
It's a rental,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
the landlord you've
The
spoken.
landlord doesn't care. The landlord says it's between you. He can put it there. It's between you and the city. And I just want to add, and again, the reason I'm coming to you, it may be technically legal, but his attitude and the fact that, like the last time he was fined and they said, "Call us back and we'll set a new appointment." We give him, I think, 3 months or something. So time is clearly on his side, not my side. They said, "Call us back, we'll measure again." They came back and again, he refused to let them measure. So I said, "Can't you do anything? Can't you enforce it?" And they said, "Well, we can't enforce it on the spot. We have to go back, file the complaint that he didn't allow us. And then the next time, if he doesn't allow us, we can issue some kind of a citation." So you can basically keep doing this. I'll be long gone from this world. And, he's going to
Does he
keep.
get a fine when he doesn't allow them to measure? He gets no fine then.
No, he doesn't get a fine. So it's his interest to keep delaying and just let.
So I
well,
have some experience with this. I'm sorry, sir, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Thank you. My last comment is when I recently called back to ask for a new reading, I have to wait 3 months for an appointment because DEP is so busy. So I'm not exaggerating when I say time is on his side.
Absolutely.
He knows it.
And this is a familiar, we've heard from this
We have,
when I was applying for an SLA renewal.
I remember that.
Yep.
Mark, you had something to say, but I also have a question. Did you want to
Go ahead.
say?
You go ahead first.
Very short question. How long have you been dealing with this problem?
I would say about 8 years,
Okay.
honestly.
Thank
And there are many times I've given up that I just don't call, but it's especially the fact that he built another unit it's like unbelievable. He just doesn't care. It's one thing if he kept it the way it was, but he opened up a new section and just put another one. And these are big things. I mean, I didn't bring pictures with me, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm not talking about a little air conditioning unit that's buzzing. I'm talking about huge things from the second floor up all the way up to the roof.
Just to distill this, the issue is noise and vibration in the rear courtyard on a second floor setback.
It's a second floor roof, I would call it.
Yeah.
But I live on the third, so all my windows overlook it. My
So
kitchen-
this is like noise and vibration from mechanical equipment,
Yes.
and then you're saying that, and then after hours outside on Amsterdam is another issue.
Are you having issues?
That's not an issue for me, because I don't think
Because
so.
that issue is most germane to what,
Right.
the application tonight.
That,
But yeah, just.
I can tell you anecdotally that I've seen it, but I don't live on it. I don't face Amsterdam, so I haven't heard that.
It's this, you could probably just Google it, but it's a small Department of Small Business Services MEND program. It's like mediating establishments. I forget the exact acronym is, but they may be able to help with that. That stuff doesn't sound like it's related to the Sidewalk Cafe application, Doug said, but it's a whole other issue on itself that needs to be addressed. But you haven't really had issues with the Sidewalk Cafe itself as far as the sound. It's really the equipment.
Well, so if I could jump in on a couple of things here, sir. One is that as Andrew was mentioning, the purview of the community board in reviewing these applications doesn't really extend to whether the operator is a good guy or a bad guy. Some of us wished that it did. Some of us are happy with how it turned out, but you know, this is not from absence of, you know, of requests. Community boards all over the city asked for this to be a part of the process, and it didn't become. The council didn't vote for that. So we're stuck with what we got. So I don't see a place for this complaint here. If you were to, so where can you make this complaint? 311 is your best friend, and get your neighbors to do it too. It's a pain in the tuchus. I don't pretend otherwise, but that's how the city allocates resources for things like this. You should also file a complaint with SLA. They don't have people to come out and look at it, but when they do build a file and when this guy's liquor license comes up for renewal, they will see it. That is sla.ny.gov/file-complaint. And you should do that every time you call 311, and you should get your neighbors to do it too, so it's not just you. That's how you build a record on this. I wish I had a better answer for you, but that's how it's done. And then the MEND program is a good idea, Andrew. I didn't think of it. The problem is that it's mediation, so it's entirely voluntary. And if this guy is being obstructionist with a reasonable request from a tenant, I don't know that he'll be any more helpful in that context, but it's one more thing to try.
Well, I'd like to suggest that we go an extra step. Otherwise, I'm going to vote against, just out of principle, because I think this is really our job. This guy has come here, as many other people have, with a similar kind of issue. And at least we can have a community board call the landlord and have a conversation from, somebody who's in a position of authority.
And he's a persistent bad neighbor, because we've had this
I
applicant
know,
before.
I really feel that can't just tell this man who came here to call 311, and as well as I do that is worthless.
No, it's not. 311, and a lot of people call over and over
And a
again.
lot
It
of
does have an impact on
Getting all
people.
your neighbors to file noise complaints and having more and more
Yeah.
fines, it's gotta get to them at some point.
But just, aren't we missing the point here that we're supposed to be voting on the merits of the application?
For the
I
Sidewalk
do
Cafe, yeah.
understand your issue, but I think that we're getting sidetracked with the issue of what we're supposed to be voting on versus what our personal feelings
Right.
based on this man's account of, which we truly believe is actually happening. We know it's happening, but I think we're losing sight of what we're supposed to be voting on.
Is there
That's my
a
opinion.
place in the form that we have to submit to answer yes or no for notes or something like that?
I'll show you the
That's all.
form.
We could, actually, couldn't we put in based on the landlord's history with his,
And complaints from neighbors.
with his air conditioning and complaints from neighbors?
Quick question, when you call DEP and someone shows up, are you actually having them come into your apartment and measure from the apartment?
That's what they do,
And
yeah.
so it's not that he's denying access into the premises or in the rear yard, it's that once he's in your apartment, the equipment is not on or off. Because if the equipment is on and the existing condition is a noisy one, why wouldn't how would they?
The way it works, and I'm not the DEP expert, but what they need to do is measure the sound level in decibels with the equipment on,
Running.
and then with the
Oh, I see,
equipment
to
off.
determine it's
To
coming from
determine
that
how
source.
much is coming from that source, because
Understood.
there's also traffic and.
Yeah, that's right.
and
That's
so
right.
so
Has
we
it-
have to cooperate and shut things off.
Understood.
Have there been measurements above the permitted decibel level?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
just very quickly. I had a similar problem with an upstairs neighbor in my Cohen. And I tried several things, mostly with the board. I hired an acoustical engineering. To put equipment in my apartment that monitored the noise 24 hours a day. So when it was on, when it was off, decibel levels. Once we established that they were exceeding the decibel, I'm aware, but I hired, okay, and I served my upstairs neighbor with a summons. And I put the co-op board on notice that a week from that day, that I was gonna serve the co-op with the summons. For some unknown reason to me, the New York Post picked up, they monitored the filing of summonses. And they wrote a little article about this, and my upstairs neighbors who were getting to the point where they were gonna move went berserk. And I got an agreement from them that they would be out of the apartment in 6 months. And if they didn't, I was gonna get paid so much per day. Then they came and begged me not to talk. If I would please, if I would please talk to the people who might be interested in buying their apartment, to assure them that I wasn't gonna start anything against them, which I agreed to as long as they paid all my legal expenses and for the acoustical engineer, which they didn't do.
Okay, well, look, it says
So, but I would urge you
it's that grayed out area, all we
to start thinking private.
There's a place in that
And
recommended
I-
modification.
there, that we approve
So
the
do we-
application, but we are asking
Yeah,
because of
recommend-
all the complaints that this restaurant has
I
received.
don't wanna, someone else, anybody else?
I just wanted to say one thing, which again is slightly out of my purview, but it's just to tag along with what Jay said. And as an attorney, you could probably opine on this better than I can, but when you said you reached out to your landlord, he said, not my problem. I don't agree with that. I mean, the warranty of the right of habitability, they've got some accountability as to helping you with their other tenants. It's not your job, necessarily only your job, I think, in tandem. But to say that the landlord has no responsibility, I don't agree with that at all.
I have a question. If the equipment is on during business hours, does that affect the 3 AM or the late nights? Does that affect any of your like living experiences or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, I can't keep my windows open.
Yeah.
I can't get any fresh air, and it comes through the windows as well, but at least it
Yeah.
muffles it a bit. But yes, it's really
So
quality of
it's a
life.
discharge from the unit that's coming up. Is
Yeah.
that a discharge?
Yeah, there are a few units.
Yeah.
not just one.
Andrew?
I would just say, I think that we should certainly address
I agree.
our neighbors' issues, but this would seem to be something that's a new business. We have other applicants
Yep, I
that are waiting. So I think it wants to hang around.
Put a note on there, and I think that that's what we should do.
Well, again, my opinion is that modification is for something that is in the cafe, not for something that is not in the cafe. This is an application for a cafe permit, not for anything else. It's, yes, Jamie?
I'm sorry, finish your
No, no,
thought. Andrew,
go ahead.
give me an idea. Go ahead.
Speak on.
Could this be considered a separate agenda item that comes at the end? I hate to ask you to wait,
Yeah.
but that comes at the end of the meeting as a new business item related to Talia's, I think it's called Talia's. And not specific to this application, but perhaps added as a separate item for discussion that we pick up again. I hate to suggest we stay and we pick it up again at the end, but not specific to this.
I think we could, but I'm not sure what can be gained by doing so. I don't know that we haven't exhausted that already, so that's my opinion. But again.
Can I suggest
so go back-
something?
Yeah, sure. just-
Sorry, did I interrupt? I'm sorry.
I just still feel like we're getting outside of what we're supposed to be, that's my opinion, that we're getting outside, we're supposed to be looking at here. This is for a cafe, dining out NYC. This isn't for a liquor license. This isn't for anything but what the application is for. That's my opinion. Then, by the way, everybody obviously can vote the way they vote, but I just want to put my 2 cents. in
No,
for
you're
that.
right. That's, otherwise then we water down the whole issue anyway.
He said, yeah, he said that it's not an issue with the cafe.
Right.
So
Right.
we're talking, yeah,
Mark.
it's about the equipment.
Okay.
So
Mark,
if I could suggest the following, my understanding of the procedure here is that we fill in this form, or the district office fills in the form, and then it's sent by email to the DOT, to the person who is our liaison there. What if we filled in the form just with the things that we've already identified about needing clarification with respect to the cafe itself? But in the email, we raised that we also, in the course of our public hearing, we also encountered this issue about noise and ask that consideration be given to addressing that issue, which is beyond the purview of the form. How does that sit with people?
My response to that would be, what do you want DOT to do about that?
That's actually not even in their purview.
No, it gets DEP or SLA. But you can
Well,
flag it. I mean, it can still be flagged.
You can ask
That's-
DE, you
that's-
can ask
that's as
DOT
good.
to put it into
Yeah.
DEP's,
So refer it to DEP.
to refer to
Yeah,
DEP.
that can be put in the email and it's flagged. So at least
I like
we've
that
said
suggestion.
something. I think that's a good idea.
It's better than nothing. It's not much better, but it's better than nothing.
Better than
Again,
nothing.
I'm going to respectfully disagree, and I think this is a 311 and DEP issue, not a DOT issue. That's my opinion.
In that case, can we take up Jamie's suggestion and put this at the end of the agenda if you're willing to either come back or,
And for new business.
Wait,
yeah? Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's set up-
So let's just
So
highlight this one.
so I,
Wait, are we voting on the cafe and then taking up the noise issue as a separate matter, or
Right.
we're tabling this?
Okay, and then
no, we're taking up the cafe, we're gonna vote on the cafe.
And then we'll take up the
And we'll
noise
do
issue.
that tonight, correct?
We'll do it now.
We'll do that.
Okay, so let's
Okay.
All the questions.
call the question on the sidewalk cafe with the recommendation
Of
for the
to
3 AM,
hour,
et cetera.
Yeah. Okay, all those approving?
I have a
Vote
point,
on-
I'm sorry, I have a technical question.
Sure.
Those of us who are not on BCI
Yeah.
are not voting, right?
No,
You're
you're not.
interested in-
But we're only here for
separate.
purposes of the.
Yeah, but
No, no.
it's this.
It's a joint,
Okay,
it's a joint, it's a joint committee, so anybody who's,
Well,
sorry.
just to be clear, we just need a quorum from one of the committees, but everybody here is
Okay,
on the
that
committee.
was my
Yep,
question.
you got it.
That's a good question. We're not as sticking separate committee.
We're not one
no,
joint. Yeah, no, you're right.
I wasn't dozing.
No, no, no,
that's-
I was, but you.
We reverse line.
It's one vote, and it's the majority of the people
In,
present and voting.
that's good.
All in favor?
And he's got
Online too.
Screen.
No, just one. So
One.
Mark.
Two.
Oh, Mark.
Want to make sure I'm counting.
Yeah, so how many is that? 2, 3, 4, 5. 11. Right? Do I have that right? 11?
So we think we
Opposed?
about.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah, I understand.
Opposed?
I understand.
Jay? Barbara?
Anyone else opposed?
I voted yes.
Oh, that's
I
right.
voted yes, with the understanding that we're
Yeah,
taking this
yeah,
up.
okay,
yeah.
and there is no abstention, no, and non-committee, no.
Plenty of obstruction.
Ineligible, no.
And right, no, and non-committee members, there's nobody online, correct? Nobody zoomed in.
Ooh.
All right, it passes 11 to 1 to 0 to 0. The rest of this to be discussed at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
That's moving on. Thank you. We have.
Can I, before you start, sure. And I apologize if I should know this, but why aren't the applicants here?
They're never required to, not with anything.
Even remotely? Yeah.
They're not, the
Correct.
law, even with SLA,
Is it specific?
they were never.
Presumably these were first approved already by DOT, although we have found that they had.
Okay, no, Jay, Jay, for
It's a
the-
different process than preservation, where the applicant.
Right, and it's a different process than SLA. So this is the process for
Okay.
starting up New York
Okay.
City. So they
Is
don't
it
have to.
statutory?
Yeah.
That they don't have to be?
Yep.
They don't, and I don't think for that, are they required to be here? too? don't
SLA, I think
so.
they're required
I
to
don't
be here.
think so.
No,
Well,
XLA, no.
You're not required.
Sometimes
No one's
they're
required to
fine.
go.
You don't have.
I
I mean, most of the time that's already decided before it comes in front of the board.
Yeah,
anyway.
and perhaps it's something that could be in a note that goes to the applicant saying, while it's not required, it's recommended,
Encouraged.
it's encouraged. To it.
Or even a little bit stronger, it's your permitting.
Okay.
To say,
Strongly.
it's not required, but we request.
Let's move on to to the next one if we could.
In favor of that.
Mark, do you have this to share as well?
I do. Which one? Do you want the roadway or the sidewalk?
Let's do the sidewalk first, since that's under letter A.
Okay,
Thank you.
so this is, let me just make sure this is the sidewalk. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so the same set of boxes, right?
Yep.
Okay, so here are their hours. And then here is their drawing. This drawing, as you'll see, is both the sidewalk over here and then the roadway over here.
So with this one, the only problem I had was with that cafe, because I don't know how you're supposed to, those are 4 tops, I don't know how you're supposed to move between them.
Yep, I have
This is
the same issue about the service aisle.
Yeah,
This is a single application for both the roadway and the sidewalk cafe?
No, there are 2 separate
Yeah.
applications, but they use the same diagram.
Does it say how many
Feet on the,
tables and chairs? Because if they're 4 tops. Presume,
yeah, they're showing a service aisle right over there, 2 feet.
Yeah.
there.
Right behind the, yeah, right there. We're 3 feet, yeah, 2 feet, 18 inches. They've got service aisle.
That's.
No, that's 3 feet between the tables, but that doesn't account for the chairs.
There, no.
It's 3 feet
No,
from here.
I think around is the chair. Mark.
Right.
The round is the
That's what
chair,
I'm
and then
saying,
you've got-
but look where the line is. The 3 feet is measured from here, which is the end of the table, to here, the end of the other.
Right,
I see.
exactly.
So when they pull the chairs out to sit in them, there's no clearance at all. So the place where the service aisle would have to go is here. Now, again, it may be, and they've got exactly 8 feet. If you see, here's the measurement, 8 feet over here. They've got exactly 8 feet, which is the minimum for this particular kind of a street
Yep.
under the, right? So unless this is, what's the, Andrew, you would know, what's the service aisle? Is it 2 feet or 3?
so they actually don't. The law doesn't have a service aisle. It used to be 3 feet under the old law. The new one, I don't believe actually has a specific amount of space defined.
I thought it did, okay.
They can't serve from outside of their.
Right.
cafe.
Correct.
It looks like the 10 feet 6 inches is the length of the entire.
the line,
cafe.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the total act.
Right, that's their way of showing that they're 5 feet from the building entrance, which is
Right.
also a requirement. And I think that they've met that, even though they don't have the exact measurements, but based on all this, that looks like
Well, they're nine-
that's been met.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this is the measurement that we're looking at, 8 feet between the curb and the perimeter.
4 tables.
Yeah, I mean, if they're 4 tops, it's, to me, it's fine, but it obviously if they're, 4 2 tops.
Why would you have 4 2 tops when they're pushed together?
There's a
Because
photograph.
they have no space, that's why they have a short.
Yeah.
Aren't these situations where they can use it as either one?
Yeah, could, yeah.
Twos or-
Well, absolutely, but I just think, say if there's not a service out on the other side, is you'd have to serve over.
Those are 4.
There's
Yeah.
a photo.
I walked by there today and that is the existing condition.
Okay, so those Yeah. are 4 tops. Orange.
And, and then if you have those doors and it's open, you could actually serve from inside, not even having to go outside.
If there's not tables against
Yeah.
the.
Are there
against
any
the-
other issues with the sidewalk cap?
Well, there's no gate
No,
around it, no enclosure around
It
it.
has to be, does the diagram show an enclosure? Can we get it back in?
The narrow streets.
It's
It is.
ambiguous at best.
And that in the street.
Cafe opportunity.
It's big.
I don't think it does.
Yeah, yeah, so one of the
We're
residents-
supposed to be making that smaller,
Yeah.
more open over the next season.
Yeah, oh, I don't think that, obviously that,
Total 10, I guess the width of their frontage is 10 sticks.
they're going to be doing.
Definitely not.
To the left is the residential entrance.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what it looks like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't have a problem with this.
I guess the other thing, maybe, the diagram cuts off to the other side here. Maybe we should look and see if it's next to the door of the other building. Yeah,
Pulpet, other side of it.
this is the entrance to Pulpet, but I think this is the entrance to the residential building above Pulpet. So they may not have, they may not have the 5-foot clearance from that.
And so I'm sorry, I'm confused. You have to have 5 feet on either side with a residential. That means there are virtually no cafes in the sidewalks because almost every restaurant's next to a residential building
Right.
that has an entrance to it. That doesn't,
Right.
I don't see how that works.
That's the regulation as I understand it.
Yeah, I think that can't possibly be. Because commercial spaces are next to residential buildings every block in the city. So I'm just speaking from my experience. I know on the avenues too, like I'm just speaking from my experience where I used to work.
Yeah.
We had a cafe. Both places on Amsterdam have cafes that are right next to the entrances to residential buildings that share
That above.
that are above the
Mhm.
commercial space.
Yeah.
But these are new
And they-
rules.
but-
That was probably true back then.
Can't possibly be the case.
Hold on, set up air clearances.
Yeah,
This is sidewalk.
let's look it up.
Because otherwise your cafe would be limited to, if you had a 10-foot storefront, you don't have no, you 5 foot each side, you wouldn't be able to have an outdoor cafe.
Oh, you're saying, presuming there's another entrance on the other side.
Correct, which there
Primary-
typically is.
Objects that require 5 feet clearance. The setup must maintain 5 feet clearance from the objects below. Review, and then it says primary building entrances, curb cuts, emergency exit hatches, but the first one is primary building entrances.
That can't be right.
Or it's just not
It's
enforced.
hard to say, I think it is because.
That means that nobody will have a cafe in front of their restaurant.
No,
Yes, it does.
but there's
Of course
various
it does.
frontages,
There's like
Well,
1 out of 10.
In this case, we have a narrow storefront, you're kind of sandwiched in between the two.
No, I understand, but I'm
Yeah.
speaking,
No, I know,
from,
yeah.
like bigger places, like look at Prohibition, for example. That's a big space up that's in front of their space, but if they go to 5 feet, they lose half their thing. That doesn't even make any sense.
Is it a
losing
residential
5 feet
or
over.
any entrance? Like
Just, if
primary?
there's one at the entrance and they have 30 feet of frontage, they're gonna have a 25-foot cafe.
Primary,
There's
just
30
like primary
that
building,
can't be right.
primary building.
Which would imply residential entrance.
You know, I mean, if it's
Building it.
residential, that's one thing, but if it's just the entrance into the restaurant, then.
No, the.
That's not the building.
No. Yeah.
This kind of goes back to what I said before. I think this is, and again, I understand that people don't trust DOT and all of this, but you can go through, there are hundreds
Yes.
of provisions that are all technical, that relate to distances, different types of instruction in different areas. We can be saying things, and I'm pretty sure what I just said is correct, but like, there could be an exception. Like I say something and then people vote no on it, or someone votes yes on it, but then it's based on one of these provisions that we don't fully understand. So I think we have to, so I can rely that what's going to be that if it's not technically allowed under the law, that it's gonna get rejected. And I guess just vote your conscience of what you think is.
I mean,
You know, here-
could we just include a statement in all our reports saying that we're assuming that ultimately the regulations will be complied with?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, we
if
can
I
do-
could jump in here, what I would offer is a slightly different interpretation, which is we're not completely devoid of discretion in this. And while I am confident that this doesn't meet the 5-foot requirement, and it does have the implications that Josh was saying, I'm not sure I have to vote according to that. So since I don't think this is a problematic cafe as designed, other than the service aisle, so that we're not using the sidewalk throughput as service aisle. I would be willing to vote for this, even though we've identified a legitimate concern. And I think that's appropriate.
I don't believe that's a legitimate concern, but okay.
I think
Well,
if we
again, that
include-
goes to the vote for your conscience, you know?
I think if we include a generic statement, it sends the right message, but we can also
I felt that.
exhibit flexibility when we vote.
Sure.
Flexible.
I agree with that.
I think I made.
Okay, let's vote.
You call the question?
All in
Could
favor?
I, could I call, could I bring up my notes on this for just a sec?
Yeah.
This is roadway, I'm sorry, here it is. So, whoops, I'm not sharing, am I? Excuse me.
You're talking and that's voice sharing.
Yeah, well, if only that were true. So again, the physical footprint, the Sidewalk Cafe doesn't have an internal service alley. While the check boxes indicate that its conforming perimeter will be used, as not appear drawn on the diagram, so they could update the diagram. I'm not sure we care about that either, but it's up to you. Pedestrian flow, I say no conflict, and that the 8-foot required clearance is met, and conflicts with existing curb usage, I see none. So I would recommend with a conforming service aisle, then approve, and if not, approve with condition to have the conforming service aisle. That's where I would go with this if it were up to me.
I do agree.
Sure, call the question.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
All's in favor?
It seems unanimous. Oh, no, not, sorry, excuse me.
Eleven,
You're incognito. it's-
all those opposed, one, all those abstaining. Not eligible, no. And non-committee, we don't have any.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Change my vote to yes.
Oh.
This is side.
It is unanimous.
Wow.
Yeah, I was
I love that.
Okay, that's right.
clairvoyant.
The last one was too.
Jay, it's a good thing you didn't have to vote when,
Now to the roadway.
Jay, it's a good thing you didn't have to vote when cars came up the road to replace the horse and buggy.
Was there a vote?
12-0.
Was there a vote on it?
If there were, you would have voted against it.
Oh, no. I'm facing a call.
Are we moving to the roadway the same? now?
Yes, we are.
Got it.
So this is the roadway application, and you'll notice that it doesn't ask for approve, disapprove, or approve with conditions. It's a different matter because DOT automatically holds a public hearing on these. But the diagram is the same diagram you saw before. Now it's just the roadway part of it. There it is. It does have a service
17.
aisle.
It's too bad they don't require a rendering of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't look like they. You know?
But we're not gonna, we wouldn't see a rendering now anyway, because they knew they don't go into effect until next year, so.
You know, now I'm just lost on one
Do
thing
they say
here.
what their flooring is here?
I thought you were only
Matter.
allowed to have the distance of your storefront.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Well, but this shows that this is beyond the distance of the storefront.
It does. It seems like it's the
Well,
width
where-
of the building, including the resi,
Correct.
which is.
Not
What do they mean by painted plywood enclosing? Does that mean that the whole thing is gonna be enclosed in plywood?
Yeah.
Yes,
Very,
Yeah, but
well, what is it? 3 feet?
3 or 4 feet high. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be plywood. I assume it's an acceptable material.
I thought it was going to be banned actually, but apparently it's not.
Well, I walked by there today just coincidentally because I knew this applicant was on the agenda. And what they have now, which is very different than they're applying for, is one very large structure that they share with Pulpet. It's one full structure. And right, because that picture that's coming up, that's actually a weird sort of bar on the west end of it, as Andrew was mentioning before. That's what they have, and that roof structure goes all the way over. I assume that they did a joint thing together with the other tenant.
Does that cause any issues with ADA? Is that like an elevated platform or anything?
Yeah, that'll have to be fixed.
So, well,
that's
no, I think that's
the amenity, the curve, that's not even there, that's in the amenity zone, which isn't
To
even.
remedy that. Whole thing
But this
has
is,
to
this is
go.
old news, right? That's,
Yeah, that's
this is not
all
what they're
going.
applying for.
You know what,
Yeah.
if I could jump in, the one thing they don't show us on this diagram or in the photographs is whether the 15-foot emergency lane between the edge and the row of parked cars across the street has been satisfied. So can an ambulance get through? Can a fire truck get through? That's the one thing I really see here.
With the cafe 7 feet is their cafe.
Hmm.
17.6 is the width.
Right, but I'm talking about this direction,
Yeah.
Yeah, the road
north,
inside.
south.
Right.
You're right about the wood.
How wide is the storefront?
Well, that's.
20
the
feet.
one-
20 feet, it's
No,
right there.
No, the
No,
building,
the building is 20 feet.
Storefront,
Storefront is less.
Oh, I'm
than
sorry, you're right.
residential.
Yeah,
So you
so
can't have it both
storefront's more,
ways.
you're right.
I think.
Can we say it doesn't conform?
it's,
Well, we don't know if it conforms. If I could pull up my notes on this one.
If the restaurant, if the frontage of the restaurant is only
10
like
feet, 6 inches,
10
that's what they
feet, 6
measured out at.
inches,
That's all they can have.
then that's all they can have, according to
Yeah,
the.
that's clear.
They can't have the whole width of the facade?
No.
The width of the restaurant.
Of their establishment.
Right.
Oh,
But
what a
is,
pain.
well, is it just not a window? So like, does the,
I think it's the residential entrance that's not part of the retail frontage.
okay, so
Yeah.
And I think that's why we were questioning the cafe.
Mhm.
notice under the steps going in, I don't know, going up, like, is it part of the business? Like it doesn't, like, does the business extend behind the residential entrance?
Ah,
You know what I'm saying? Like the.
Yeah.
What's
Oh, I
the,
see what you mean.
what's the rule?
oh,
What's
you
the
get like
law?
a
for that?
horseshoe behind.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes
So
a lot of
the
places
steps were to
do.
go,
Yeah, some
so,
do.
this is the steps going to the residential building. Here's the storefront, but then the business, because it sends,
Mhm.
you could have,
Again,
entranceway, but
both-
then you could have
both
it
places
going
where I
all
work have
around.
that
Yes,
exact thing.
that's
They have to
entirely
behind the
possible.
stairs. yeah.
So you would have to still, for a roadway, have the 5 or whatever it is, the proper clearance. But if the building, if the business extends on both sides of.
Behind the resi,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's a good question.
I think we still need to check on that 5 foot to the residence thing. It doesn't make any sense. I know a lot of this doesn't make sense.
So you're saying it would go around,
So that's the entrance and, or so it's down here. So what I'm saying is, so it's with this as an example. Like
So they have
over,
a restaurant.
if like the restaurant went
Could they
behind the
run
residential entrance and was also here,
Inside.
and
Yeah,
then
case
the
up
step
it
in
went
front,
I don't know what
That
that
was
was.
store.
with like
I'm
behind.
betting it's.
Yeah, there's a
storefront.
lobby in the front
I think it's.
and in the
storefront.
restaurant.
Not, because
And
there's a lot of
horseshoe
places
is
that
behind
there are a lot of places that.
that,
have
so
narrow-
theoretically, the width of the
Lots of
retail
places.
behind them
Places where
is the
you have
same
the
width.
storefront, then
I-
you can go that way,
But there's something
just
else.
behind the facade of the building.
That's a good question.
Like if you go
It's
to.
still a frontage.
Trying to
may have
think-
Not the
Well, I'm
frontage,
thinking of a
but-
place on the east side that I know.
I mean,
No,
if
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
advertising, not front.
No, it is
but
L
it's
shaped,
side of
yeah,
the
But
restaurant.
the thing where the L shape is a different restaurant. Yeah, so they have two.
I mean, there are lots of
Yeah.
restaurants.
I mean,
that are
Terrible.
Narrow and go.
Correct.
And the back
Yeah,
expands.
yes, there are a lot.
There are lots.
How are we gonna move
You know,
forward
in
on this?
conscience, I don't think this particular application is offensive, especially considering the grand roadway that they have now.
Well,
They're
that's
coming down,
not
but-
relevant though.
No, I know, so I'm saying, so, I mean, just to Mark's point, like, I'd be inclined to approve it, and if it gets flagged to DOT, because it's not regs, that's not our.
Well, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking at the photo of it and what they've done is giving clearance between Pulpet. They've got the combined roof and then there's like a whole aisle between Pulpet and their.
That's the current condition, that's all gonna come down.
Yeah.
And those are two separate.
I think what Linda's saying is that there's a 1'6" clearance between the lot line and the structure, which is required as a place to put the garbage, I think is why that was put in. And so it complies with that. The only thing I don't see it complying with is the emergency access 15-foot lane. And now we could take the same approach and leave that to DOT to catch, or we could say something about it.
We're saying is that 15-foot width to the south side of, on 71st Street, is it? To the other part?
Yes.
No, it's 15
Yes.
feet clearance for emergency vehicle.
My own feeling is that we're not expert enough at this. It's very difficult, and especially because DOT approved these things with obvious, apparently obvious, problems. So I don't know, we don't know better than them, really.
Yeah, we do, but.
Well, I would say, from my perspective, that this doesn't, it's extended past the storefront, and that alone, it should not be.
I agree.
Okay, so let's turn it down.
So can we do it with the caveat that they,
So can I just ask so let me just ask like a question, so. Based on that, right, we vote no, we turn it down based on
We say,
our assumption of that. And then DOT looks at it and says, actually, that's technically okay.
Which is,
Then they'll approve. it.
which, by the way, we know this, we're only advisory
Yeah.
anyway, so we understand that,
at
whatever
least
we
we're on
say.
record having done the right thing.
Articulate.
I think we have- we really are advisory and all we can ask is, I mean, we've always been, but,
It's really too bad that the applicant isn't here. I know they're not
That is
required to
really
be here.
sad.
It's unfortunate because they feel.
So I think,
Questions.
you know, if they're not here, and there's not much more we can say about it.
So-
I think we,
So on this one, can I just jump in for a sec? We're not asked to approve or disapprove. So all we're doing is filling in comments on
Right.
these forms, right? So what if we simply comment our questions that it's not clear that there's a 15-foot emergency lane? It's not clear that this conforms with the regulations with respect to the frontage of the storefront. I would throw in the service aisle as well. And then with the overall recommendations, we could say something like, we leave it to DOT to resolve these, whether these are material concerns or something like that. Does that work?
Yeah.
that's really good. That's a good solution.
Very good.
All right, that's different than my notes, so I'll have to revise that and send it into the office. But if that works for everybody else, I'm happy with that too.
Do they automatically have a hearing at DOT or only if we reject?
No, on roadways, DOT holds a hearing. They're obligated by regulation to hold a hearing. And I think I mentioned last night, we've been informed that they will hold their hearing on the 31st day after they refer it to us. So there's no second chance, no bites at the apple on this one.
Okay, that's good.
All right, so I'll work that up, but it'll be different than what you saw before.
The other one will be the 31st day.
Right, that's right.
That's how convoluted this is.
Yep.
Okay, so I give it back to Josh because maybe we should take a vote on this.
It's the vote on, we're not approving, we're just
we're
adding
not
notes.
We're just putting comments.
Right,
Like
but
you just-
we're voting on whether those are the comments, I guess is what we're voting on.
Well, I mean, okay, so, I mean,
Call the question?
so.
Everybody okay with that, I guess?
so I guess, Mark, you were asking, is are we all going to say we agree with the comments? We
Yes.
all just the comments, I think we do, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Call the
Jay?
question?
All right, so if that's okay,
Okay.
I'll take the, okay.
All right, so who approves of the comments? There we go.
They're good comments.
11. Who disapproves of the comments? 0. Who's abstaining from the comments? 1. And
They're completely.
Comment on the
they're
comments?
so is it, we approve,
Yeah, they have, and it's not a good process.
is it 11-0-1-0?
Do that for
It was,
We had sidewalk cafes, we actually voted on them.
Great.
and they people frequently showed
Let's
up.
move on.
That was
Questions.
DCA.
That's it
But it was the
for
same thing, they went
transportation
to
and
So you're,
TCI.
the joint issues are open.
So if anybody from transportation would like to stay, we
You're
love that. If
strongly
you want to
discouraged.
leave.
No,
we
no,
say-
you're in permanent. No, I'm kidding.
Thank you
Okay.
very much, everybody. Thank you, Josh,
Thank you.
and
That's smart.
appreciate it.
I always
Wait a day,
go
we're gonna have to take-
what PCI
That's-
does.
Stay if you're interested. We also have to-
It's good nights.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yes,
We're gonna have that dinner.
I
do that.
walk out.
We only charge $1,500 an hour.
Can we do the, can we do this, because we do have hopefully people that are here. Okay. So we want to do 61 West 62nd Street. Do we have an applicant here?
Yes, sir.
Is it Mark?
Yes, it is. Hi there.
First, I'd like to thank you for your patience. It's much appreciated.
It was good to get a little preview of the whole community
What's
board
next?
dining out
Yeah.
process, because I'm gonna have like 7 of these, so.
Oh, great.
All right.
That's great to hear.
Yes.
How many units do you have? You have, I know the one near Bryant Park.
We
and then
currently
one in
have 6 La Pecora Biancas open and 1 restaurant called Lupetto, so 7 total as a group.
Congratulations.
Amazing. Let me just make sure I have
And
the
they're
right
good.
in front of me.
So this would be your second one in this area. I mean, this is
Yeah.
your second.
Yeah, I mean,
77.
I hope they trade as different areas, otherwise we're gonna be cannibalizing ourselves a little bit, but I think
No, I
yes.
just mean in our district. If we have a big.
Oh,
district,
sorry, yes.
Within, our board.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is for a new application for temporary retail permit application to the SLA, to your liquor license. Sorry. Does anybody wanna,
What are the hours of operation?
it is. In front of me here.
Did we lose Mark? Because it's at the gym.
No, Mark's there. Oh, no, we're talking about different Mark.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mark.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the hours are, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Monday through Sunday, Monday, 11 to 11, Tuesday to Saturday, 11 to 12.
Yes.
And this is a restaurant operator who has great history already in our community.
This is the SLA application for the
And
full
for
liquor,
my
correct?
Correct.
Got it. And this is the former Rosa Mexicana.
It's current, they're still,
Still
Yeah.
current.
When do you anticipate,
so
taking over?
it's a good question. Basically what I'm here to do is hopefully to get your approval for us so that we can sign the lease without a liquor license contingency. And then the landlord is working on, they're actually out of term right now. They're in holdover technically. And so the landlord is working and getting them out.
Gonna get rid of the David Rockwell wall?
That's gone. It's gonna be something nicer.
Oh, the divers?
Yeah.
Divers are.
We'll keep it'll be something nice, but not, it won't be divers, yeah.
Won't be
But
that-
nicer, we know.
It'll be nice. It'll be like updated, more contemporary, yada, yada.
What's your anticipated opening date?
I think, well, we're not getting possession until, I think their plan is to have them operate through the end of the year, assuming they can reach an agreement. So I think we're getting possession in January or February. So I would say if all goes well, September, October, so Q4 25.
Right.
Great. Okay.
It sounds wonderful.
Thank
And the
you.
hours of operation, great.
Yeah.
And you're a great operator, so
Great,
where's the
great look.
controversy? This is a nice one.
So any other questions or comments?
There you
There
go.
you go. All right.
Yeah, now we wish you could, well, we haven't voted
Is
yet,
it
but
fun?
Any? One here? No? Anybody on?
it'll be a great
Anybody
addition
from the
to the
public?
Is there
neighborhood.
anybody
We're
from the
excited.
public on the Zoom, Jesse? No? Doesn't look that way. Okay, call the question.
We have, the other person I try to promote, they won't accept, so I don't know if they just want to postpone for the next one, but they're both there.
For
Or-
706 or 392?
Correct.
Okay, well,
I'll try to
we're
promote them
doing.
one more time.
But let's call the question on this one.
Okay.
All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And,
And that's great. But
oh, sorry, Ben.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. You guys got me?
I had disapprove. 0. Abstain. Non-committee members? Thank you.
One.
And okay, passes 8-0-0-0, non-committee 1-0-0-0. We wish you luck.
congrats,
Yeah.
Mark.
Thank you. Thank you for your support of the 77th and Columbus location, and thank you for your support here as well. So we're excited to expand in the neighborhood.
And thank you again for your patience. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Got it.
Thank
Bye.
Okay, next is 706 Amsterdam Avenue. Do we have the applicant here? Can you say your name for us, please?
My name is Gary Shankar.
How are you, Gary?
Good. How are you? Good evening to all the community board members here.
Thank you. Again, I'd like to thank you for your patience as well. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you could tell us a little about yourself and the restaurant, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, it's going to be a Indian restaurant for approximately 40-45 people sitting, dining there, and a small physical bar right in the behind of the restaurant, and where I'm seeking a permission and approval from the community board for the full bar license. It will be going to be a fine dining restaurant with full sitting in the place.
What was there before the former Ayurvedic cafe? Is that correct?
What was there before? What restaurant was there before, sir?
Is this the former Ayurvedic cafe space? I'm sorry, can't hear you. Or maybe
Hey, Gary, what was this
Maybe he
before
doesn't-
you were taking it over?
Yes, Mr. Neil is my lawyer, and he's approaching with me for the restaurant that coming up on 706 Amsterdam Avenue.
No, that's fine. I'm Neil Trivedi. But Gary, they were asking you a question. What was there before? There was some type of a deli, a fast food deli or something?
Last it was the deli over there, and before that it used to be the Ayurveda Cafe, Indian restaurant before for 20 years, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Got it.
Great, yes. And the hours of operation you have listed are, you don't have that, it wasn't included with your application. What are the hours of operation?
It will be morning 11 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the night, sir.
Okay.
There's not
Any
gonna
questions?
There's not gonna be any, I mean, there's gonna be a bar, but it's hardly any space there. 3 chairs, 14 tables, 52 chairs, 3 bar seats that I put down in there. It's a very small, tight location.
Looks like the hours are very modest. Just make a comment.
Yeah,
The Ayurveda Cafe was very beloved in the neighborhood. People were sad when it left, and then I know they replaced it with a deli, which was problematic. So personally, your presence here is really welcome, and I'm very happy for you. I really support your application.
and here's the deli. I
Thank you.
have an Amsterdam deli.
All right, shall we?
Call the question?
Favor?
7, 8.
And Ben,
I got it.
I'm sorry.
Showing my favor here on Zoom.
Right.
There's no opposed or abstentions or not for cause, and non-committee members? Thank you. Okay. When do you anticipate to be open?
Would we take another 15 days because there is some small sort of constructions left in that. Then I'm going to start a soft opening with some prayers in that premises.
Great. We wish you luck.
Thank you. I appreciate, sir.
Point of order for technical. I just wanted to point out that given the fact that we have a full board meeting scheduled for next week, actually, the applications that we approve or opine on are actually going to be hopefully approved by next Tuesday, right?
Right.
So instead of waiting for the July full board, which we do not have, so just for your lawyer, we should probably have a full
Sure.
response from the full board on the 18th.
Thank
Great.
you. I really appreciate for your support for me.
Best of
Thank
luck.
Great. Wish you the best.
Thank you. Next and last is 392 Columbus Avenue.
I have that as postponed.
Oh, I do not.
I got postponed.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. And that's,
Dingle, waffle and dingle?
And back to our.
that concludes our business on applications, and now we're gonna take on new business.
Business.
You wanna come up and take a seat?
Please join us.
Thank you. How we can help you.
Should I start from the beginning?
No.
Okay, it's, by the way, it's fascinating to be here and hear all the conversations. Not what I would describe it. Maybe not fascinating, but no, it is interesting, and I understand the, the approach of. We're talking about a cafe permit, and this is something else, but, my hope is when whatever committee it falls under is this is a community board, and my understanding is that community boards are supposed to help residents of the community, and you have your very strict technical legal functions, but there's also a matter of, representing the people.
Of course.
And, the only thing I'll add to what I've been saying about the noise problem, and I can't, this isn't a court of law, I can't call anyone in, but I will tell you that in my building, this restaurant is in my building, and the super, although he can't do anything because he works for the landlord, I've spoken to him about the problems, and he said to me that this man is also so difficult in terms of the mess he makes in the basement, pulling out the garbage, leaving trails of bloody meat on the floor and not cleaning it up. So this guy is not a good citizen, and my hope is the problem with the noise measurement, aside from the time lag, which, they come and then you have to wait, and then they'll come again in 3 months. And then even if they issued a summons, the restaurant has a couple of months to correct it. And so, like I said, I know I could be doing this for the rest of my life, but I'm hoping maybe I could find a little bit of support here.
What is your address, Ken?
200 West 93rd. But again, I can't call anyone to testify, but the inspectors from the DEP have actually said to me, like, even when it's legal, it's so close that he's just, he knows he's a menace and a nuisance, but unless he's going to be fined, he won't even do a thing. So I guess my question to you is what else can we do beyond just saying, well, call DEP and wait and then call them again?
So the nuisance is really, it's the sound of the equipment.
It's the sound.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are certain ways, based on equipment, newer equipment, there's issues that we've dealt with in the past where there's just different mitigation techniques. But obviously you need someone that's amenable to even try to, address it.
And he did it once. I will say, there's one, the cheapest thing you could do is wrap like some tinfoil, essentially, but heavy duty, around some equipment, and he did that. And he was able to take new measurements, and then he was okay. But there are better ways of doing it. He just doesn't want to spend any more money. He just did the cheapest possible route. Now it's borderline. He doesn't want to invest a penny.
I just even know in the neighborhood, the MEN program, though he mentioned, they've worked on a lot of different scenarios with difficult situations. So I don't know if it would work or not, but I mean, that is, you come asking what is there that we can do. I mean, that's one thing that is an established city program to help address these types of issues. Whether or not in the long run it works or not, who knows, but that's the intent. And I know from other people that it's been successful. So I would definitely, one, recommend that. Two, I know you said, you sound like a jerk like this, but like, you said he's close to being compliant. You're either in compliance or you're not.
Right.
You may not like not being, that line, but that's technically the law. So if he is under it, I don't know if there's really any regulatory, approach. And then I'd say the third thing is maybe as a community board, I don't know if anyone knows who the owner of the building is. Maybe someone can, reach out, or other residents in your building can collectively go together and say like, listen, this is an issue for a lot of us. And maybe if the owner of the building hears from multiple people instead of just one, they'll take it a little bit more serious and say, we gotta do something. And, if it community problems, I don't know, like, if they can't afford the business has issues affording the mediation, the mitigation, like would be their money that they could throw in, the owner of the building to help do it, but.
I've seen 311 campaigns. If you get everybody in your building, all of your neighbors together, and just if you did like once a week, everybody doing it, they get the barrage of 311 complaints about the same issue, and it is effective. It just has to be consistent.
Is there any reason why we can't write a resolution and say that this man, on behalf of several of his neighbors, came to us and said that, you know, they had DEP in, that the level of noise is too high, that the landlord has been unresponsive, and put it on record and have the community board call him and ask him to come in.
Do we know?
I'm
I'm
sorry,
We can't,
Resolution.
it's
Do we-
not a resolution.
do we
and
know-
We can't say because on behalf of his neighbors, because we don't see his neighbors.
Right, do we
they're
know if the
coming in.
landlord for the building is the same landlord for the restaurant?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is, just making sure, yeah, okay, yeah. So
So
really, like, it is the landlord's problem.
yeah, here's one thing I'll say. First of all, I think 311 is your friend.
Yeah.
Several of us said it. Mark Diller, our board member, said it. You know, we have this thing called open data in New York. All of those things are unerasable.
Mhm.
So once it's on there, it's on there. And I don't know if I would agree with a barrage, but I would say if you have regular bona fide complaints from your neighbor, you know, they actually do, even 311 delineates this through a separate phone number, separate complaint. So it's the same person or versus different people. So I would definitely get your neighbors. I assume you're not the only neighbor that has an issue. And if you have other neighbors, encourage them to, you know, join efforts with you. I think you need a paper trail, and 311 is a digital unerasable trail, writing letters to your landlord, and, you know, you can copy people. I think that's really important to get that paper trail going. You know, and yeah, I mean, look, the SLA. I will tell you just anecdotally, I live not too far away from there, and I can say that I've also heard anecdotally about issues and complaints. And there's a lot of issues that happened during COVID over there. And I observed personally, because I'm not speaking in hearsay, I observed personally them flagrantly violating COVID restrictions all day, all night. And I was actually offended by it, because it was just, and the other thing I'll add, and then I'll shut up, is that my job, I do represent a lot of restaurants, and I'm a commercial real estate broker, and there is plenty, as Andrew alluded to, there's plenty of things that they can do to mitigate. Some of them are more expensive and some of them aren't so expensive. There's isolators, and there's lots of different things that they can do to minimize sound and vibration. And, you know, they should meaningfully look into it. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's if you call them in complaints, like you explained the situation, they're gonna come and potentially fine or not fine. If you're just filing complaints and they're in compliance, but it's still loud and annoying, you know, it is what it is. There's nothing really to do. To me, it just sounds like if you have no luck with the restaurant itself, then you get together with the other tenants and you go to the landlord and say, listen, here are 8 of the tenants in the building, all complaining. All they need to do is upgrade their equipment, you know, I just, you know, I think that's.
That's a
Maybe
good
the
idea
landlord
too.
can
So
help
you
them
can write,
upgrade.
you can write a letter to the landlord with several signatures of all of the tenants. I probably don't want to say it on record.
It's YMY management. I don't know, like, the actual last name of the person.
yeah,
They're called YMY management. It's located in Brooklyn.
yeah, I know.
I think that's the.
Can I jump in real quick? I agree that creating a paper trail is very important. Also what you may not realize, that 311 number, complaint number, is very essential when we're following up with agencies. So it's also great to include, even in the letter, the date and the actual complaint number, because then they could go into the system and actually check it out, and it's easier for them to access to basically show that a complaint was initiated.
Get your neighbors to do this on a consistent basis. I call it a garage. And you've got to file the complaint number, they'll give you a complaint number, and then you can write a letter to your landlord and say, hey, look, you know, this is untenable. DEP has already fined them. This is, you know, because a lot of times landlords will say, no, it's up to the tenant to pay for, you know, the mitigation, but if the landlord knows that there's these problems, then they don't want to lose tenants either, especially on, you know, right now.
But you just heard from Jasmine, who's the Associate Director of Community Relations, Community Affairs here in our office. And so you're right, community, we do, this is the Business Consumer Issues Committee. And while it wasn't the purview of the application, I think this is very germane to what we do here. So yeah, we want to help.
I just want to let you know that it's our last meeting, we're off for July and August. But if you still have this issue by September, call the office, you can get it scheduled on our agenda, come with as many neighbors as you can
Definitely.
get together.
But our office
Or
is not.
petition if they can't come and give it to us.
I'm saying our office is not closed for the summer.
District office is open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not
District offices, we just, yeah, we're not.
The volunteer board does
There's
not
not
meet.
power
But
in
you can
numbers.
get this going. I mean, it's just, it's.
Yeah, to follow up on that idea, I've noticed, I'm only 1 year on the planning board, but I have noticed that when neighbors come from the community en masse.
Yeah.
It really does make a statement to the board, and I don't want to, you've obviously made a statement because we've all stayed late to hear what you have to say. So I think you make quite an impression, but I think both the 311 and to your landlord and to the community board, there is power. And when calling 311, if the noise complaint is what you have the numbers on, I think then obviously that's a good thing. But if people have other complaints from other parts of the building about different things, if it's the super or if it's somebody who has a noise complaint at night from the front of the building. I mean, if this person is just a bad neighbor in general, that can be documented as well. As Jessie said, keep the complaint number each time you call them, the date, we don't tell you how to make a complaint, but make sure your neighbors know how to do it as well, so that you, as we call it in the old days, you make a paper trail.
Yeah, it's a great time to have everybody over and you come up with, I've done this before, and you come up with.
It's a campaign.
A tenant advocate and you know, and that's what you do and it's effective.
And don't be shy to also copy the local city council office.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We work very closely with our city council members and.
Is it? Yeah, that's right. It's Sean and Brew.
Is it? Gail might.
Yeah. All Gail's office, which is great. And let her. Yeah, when I did this together in 1977, it works.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you.
Please do come back.
Than't you, I appreciate it,
yeah.
appreciate your time.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much for coming in.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
And
Any other new business?
I hope so.
yeah.
I guess we're gonna like see you in September.
You can become the hero of the building.
All right, so meeting is or adjourned.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, second.
We can stop recording. Thanks.